What are going to be some of the best Battlegrounds options this Season 20? Hello everybody, and I hope you're doing well. As a lot of you know, on a season by season basis, I produce this spreadsheet, which I've decided to change. I've created, this is the old busted, right? Not very well presented, and now I present to you the new hotness. The new hotness is available in the link in the description and is just better. It's better in every single way. I will be adding more to this spreadsheet as time goes on, but I've kind of just broken it down to just attack options with breaking down to different areas that I think can be good against the meta, and the same thing when it comes to defense options, sinking into the meta and not. At the bottom there are tabs. As you know, when you click on tabs, it takes you to things. So tab number 1, which I will bring the red arrow just to pinpoint right there, that is victory track. You click on the tab to the right of it, and guess what? It takes you to Gladiator circuit-based options. But what we're going to do is look at these options, and we're going to expand on them and talk about why they're going to be good for the attack side of things, why they're going to be good for the defense side of things, and put in the comments if you think there's going to be a champion I've missed that is going to be effective in either attack or defense. So let's get into it. Now, Season 20 has a very much Alliance Wars style, in that if you played the Alliance Wars, actually I think it's what is going on right now with the buff side of things, is if you have in defense, we're going up against in defense, first off, a hashtag House of Mirrors tag champion every 20 seconds, they switch between 5% chance to auto block or evade. In a nutshell, you're probably going to need true strike or true accuracy based champions to counter that if you are not playing into the hashtag Clarity Champion meta side of things. So House of Mirrors champions are ones that we've seen and experienced this season, last season, and in-game at the moment, and you'll probably see it in the Alliance Wars Showcase at a later date. So trying to find a good, quick counter for this is going to be used, as we said, those Clarity-based champions. In the spreadsheet, there is a Arcade Champions options by the amazing Misty K. I'll try and remember to put a link to Misty K's stuff in the link in the description. But in a nutshell, these are your House of Mirror type champions. These can be very effective defenders. Then, on the other side of things, are your Clarity tagged champions. These can be very effective counters to those champions. Yes, but also no. The big difficulty that will be for you is having the right counters to specific based champions. And one thing that I have noted is the potential to have in this 2 champions, maybe actually 3+. There's some really nasty defenders. It means that you will have to go and bring in a potential hashtag Clarity champion if on defense is listed a Spot, a Shuri, a Darkhawk, a Mysterio, Mysterio, and Future Ant-Man, to name a few that have a very difficult, mainly with the first 3, difficult mechanics. The reason I mention difficult mechanics is miss. Now, what a Clarity champions, what a true accuracy, and what a true defense champions take on. Yep, that's right. Evade and auto block. But it's not true sense. It's not vigilance. It's not taking on champions that have that miss mechanic within them. Even Guillotine 2099 has it. And she is under House of Mirrors, so she could also be a good defender for this. But it's the tricky side of things, isn't it? How do you counter that miss? Darkhawk, I tell you one thing, I really want to rank up and 200 signature a Darkhawk. Now I think, yeah, I do have him. Just because he's a very tricksy defender that not a lot of people bring counters for. And when he goes into his different modes, he can be frustrating. He's either going to be regenning exponentially, he's going to be missing if he goes into, I think it's stealth mode, I think it is, on the mode that he basically becomes, at times, occasionally miss. And hey, when you're bringing in counters with him on defense's House of Mirrors, there are limited options. There's also a few champions I've missed off talking about, like Prowler, and maybe that's a mistake not to kind of put on Prowler, but also Green Goblin. Now, in their right mind, does anybody say to themselves, oh, I've got myself a Green Goblin, I'm going to rank 5 him as a champion? There are probably people out there that have done that, and I've probably just put it in just for like sneaky defense purposes, diversity when it comes to Alliance Wars, or just have done because why not? This could be a sneaky option in defense that could frustrate a few people, but I definitely think there's going to be a few people that will field in a Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative is another one on my list of champions that I feel are going to be, effectively annoying in Battlegrounds, but also effective in, just being there as a not a nice defense option, especially in Alliance Wars and stuff like that. So there's correlations of champions that could be used as your defense options to play into the meta. Now, if players aren't using the meta and kind of putting in just the general kind of defensive nightmares like Onslaught, Weapon X, Destroyer, even the Rise of Serpent, which is something that I didn't put in here, but it's definitely on one of the other lists of things, then you're going to have to really think about who is going to take on these champions. And then you're absolutely fine, because you could say, well, I'll use Bishop to take on Bullseye, Storm. I could be using some of the strong science champions to take on Kindred. He's not hashtag House of Mirrors, so therefore I can use my Clarity champions or any counters. It becomes a free-for-all. But it's definitely something you should consider as to having a deck that's drafted with champions that are effective against the meta, but also the general nukers and counters that you'll bring in. And some of those particular champions that we should mention are here. General nukers that are able to take on a lot of content and do a lot of damage very, very quickly. Whether or not it's some of these. And I do think that the rise of Gladiator and the general use of Juggernaut, a lot of players do have, are incredibly effective. The sudden rise of Serpent is something not to be kind of, ignored. And I do think that champion's going to play a big part in this season. It kind of did last season, but I think that as a lot of more people get their hands and have got their hands on that champion, whether it be 6 or 7 star, it's going to be very effective. And don't write off the usuals, which are Hercules and Hulkling. But of course, you might want to look at the other element to things. Now, one thing I have mentioned with this meta in the spreadsheet is Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused puts a Falter debuff on you, and this is where you might want to see debuff cleansers, shruggers, purifiers put into your deck just to benefit. And that is something that will play largely into the Gladiator circuit meta, and that's the victory track side of things. So we're going to cut the video here. And thank you for joining me in the Gladiator circuit based coverage. This is going to be important as we've got armor break. When you go and attack as an attacker, you go and fight the defender, you are highly likely to get an armor break debuff on you. That ain't good. So you need to counter that. Also, as part of Scrap Wars, whenever the attack is afflicted with an armor break, the defender gains an armor up buff. So every time you get an armor break on you, you're basically giving some armor up to the enemy. Now at that point you're kind of like, well, I'm throwing buffs on the enemy. Buffed up enemies? Mystics? Mystics punish those? Yes and no. So what Command have done is they've added a sneaky little extra to this, which is a Divine Barrier. While fighting a Mystic attacker, so you're bringing a Mystic attacker, every 10 seconds, time that defender becomes immune to Nullify, Fate Seal, and Stagger. So it gives you a limited window in order to, once you're playing into giving the enemy armor breaks, that gives them armor ups. So armor breaks on you, armor up for the enemy. You are, and as well, buffs and debuffs last 150% longer. You're going to find it difficult. You're going to find it really difficult to kind of like suppress or punish based on that. And that may lead you into thinking that Mystics may not be a good option. Now that's, on paper, yes, that does seem what it is, but it needs to be tested out. I would recommend going for champions that are armor break immune champs, like the ones listed here, ineffective offensive options. Also, the other side of things is, well, if you don't want debuffs on you, debuff shruggers and cleansers. This will then pinpoint these champions here to be used as counters, whether or not you're taking Crossbones, Hitmonkey, Baron Zemo, Kingpin, like to name but a few of these champions right here that can be used effectively for stuff, right? And of course you might go to the usual nukers, except for Juggernaut. I will just remove that one because at the end of the day, well, it doesn't necessarily say stagger champions, so maybe I'll keep it on there for the time being, but I might have to take it off. You know, that you've got the other ones to your advantage. And of course, from Defender's side of things, whether it being a restrictive, offensive-based options to choose from. Then, of course, your defense side of things has to shift a little bit for this. So you may find yourself using some of the other champions here for defense to be frustrating, and obviously it limits counters. But, of course, defensive-based options like these ones here, Cosmics could be the way to go. Buffs last longer. A lot of these are very frustrating in defense, so these could be the way to go with it. Anyway, those have been my recommendations. I will be building out a few videos associated with Battlegrounds because, hey, actually, I might be interested in doing a few bits of other content on Battlegrounds, like maybe season-by-season tier lists. I'm thinking about a few things, and I'm interested to have this as a new spreadsheet to kind of run on a monthly basis. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit a like button and support the channel, and go and check out the spreadsheet if you so wish. And who are you using? Who are you ranking? Put it in the comments. And good luck in this new season. I think it should be good. I think it should be fun. And check out some other content located on screen. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a lovely day, and goodbye for now.